Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to Steve's Spots, where I visit those maybe not so well-known places that you may not find in a normal tourist guide. Now, it's been about a year since I've done one of these, but now with things starting to get back to normal, hopefully, I'll be able to start doing some more. Today I'm at the Charleston Tea Plantation, about 20 miles south of Charleston, South Carolina. It is the largest commercial tea production site in the United States. And we'll talk a little bit more about it here in a second, but right now I'd like to give you a very short history of tea in South Carolina. Both the French and the Spanish wanted to establish colonies here in South Carolina area. And the Spanish actually did have a colony for a while in the 1500s. However, that eventually faded away. Now, the British established their colony in the Charleston area about 1670 or so. It's interesting to note, though, that tea was not introduced here until about 1799, and it was introduced by a French botanist who brought it over for his own personal use, not to do commercially. The first attempt to commercially produce tea was made in 1848 by Dr. Junius Smith. However, his attempt ended in 1853 when he was shot to death. Then in 1874, Dr. Alexis Forster established a tea plantation in Georgetown area, which is about 15-20 miles north of Charleston. But again, that ended in 1874 also when he was killed while trying to flee from some bandits. Finally, in 1888, Dr. Charles Shepard founded the Pinehurst Tea Plantation in the Charleston area, and he actually did win first prize in the 1904 World's Fair for his oolong tea. Unfortunately, when he died in 1915, the commercial production of tea ended then. About 50 years later, in 1963, Lipton Tea Company established the Charleston Tea Plantation as a research farm for their commercial production of tea, and ran that for about 25 years. Then, in 1987, Mark Fleming, who was the manager for the Lipton farm here in Charleston, along with Bill Hall, who was a third-generation tea taster. Yes, they do have official professional tea tasters who make pretty good money. But those two went and bought the Charleston Tea Plantation from Lipton Tea so that they could make their own brand of tea called the American Classic Tea. And then finally, in 2003, Bill Hall, along with the Bigelow Corporation, bought out Mark Fleming and established the Charleston Tea Plantation as their own commercial production tea farm. This is the only large-scale commercial production of tea in the United States. The combination of the rain and the sun and the soil make this a perfect location for tea to grow. Now, getting to the Charleston Tea Plantation is really fairly simple. You just travel south on Highway 700 from Charleston, and it's about 10 or 15 miles down the road. You'll see the signs. As they say, you can't miss it. Now, the tree-covered road to the visitor center is just absolutely gorgeous, particularly when the trees are in bloom. Now, the visitor center offers a myriad of items from free tea samples to lots of souvenirs tea-related, including tea-flavored ice cream and t-shirts. Get it? T-shirts. Now, from there, you can take a trolley tour of a plantation, and if you're lucky enough, you may even get to see the custom-built harvester being used to harvest the right tea leaves. You can also take the video-guided factory tour, which explains how the tea leaves are processed to make the various types of tea. One thing I found extremely interesting is that oolong tea, black tea, and green tea are all made from the same plant. On your way to or from the Charleston Tea Plantation, you may want to stop and visit the Angel Oak. It's only about a mile off the main highway. The Angel Oak is an over 400-year-old oak tree. Now, you've probably seen lots of trees. What makes this one so unique is the size and breadth of its branches. It is just absolutely huge. The branches are almost as large as the trunk of a tree, and they actually go into the ground and back out again. So, that's the Charleston Tea Plantation. Next time you come down to Charleston to see the sights or to go on a cruise, take a couple hours out of your time and come down and see the plantation itself. Oh, and don't forget Angel Oak. This is Steve, and I'll see you next time on Steve's Spots.